force it in and you swallow black words and cheap goodbyes. I'll burn it all just to light your eyes. Skin tight rewards and vendetta, ground zero in a desperate life. I love the violence between your thighs. Bring it down to the wire. Parasite, oh messiahs. Set them all on fire. And scrape. There is an art to infliction, head spill and homicide. I'll burn it all just to light your eyes. I'll wet your dream of their ruin, my sweet little libertine. We'll fix it all with gasoline.
bass.
makes me die. So much on my mind, given so little time. There's no way to hold on as it passes by.
Good evening all and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV as we go into the last game of today for WCA Chinese Counter-Strike action.
Gas was actually in drop zone here with a smoke.
He nearly gets the kill and he's got to be careful, he loses his head.
Maybe a 3-4. Fix your T side, get A, the AWP more.
We'll be back tomorrow as we are every day, 5 days a week. Training to deal with, who's going to see, oh my god! Hello all and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV. I am your host James Banks, and today as well as yesterday, and we've got one more day ahead of us, we've been looking over all of the Dreamhack Masters of Malmö event, or some of our friends say Malmö, as we know in many situations. Malmö, exactly that. Joining me as always is George Hoskins. George, we saw more great Counter-Strike actions. We took a little bit of a risk on one of our bets. It didn't pay off yesterday. And then we got completely destroyed on the other one as Renegades decided to come to life and VP continued to throw themselves further down the rabbit hole.
Surely the end for them, right?
It's got to be like... I'm now looking at this team like, okay, first game you lost was acceptable, it's Na'Vi. Then you lose to Renegades.
Where do you go from here? For them, it's like they obviously... Someone even suggested on Twitter yesterday that they're not practicing hard enough because they earn so much money, but I don't think that's really the case.
These guys have wanted it for long enough. I don't think that, like you said, it's not going to be the case, but also that the fact that, yes, you've kept the same 5-man roster, but we've seen them slump just as hard as this before, and they've always bounced back. They just need to find that little bit of magic to make it happen.
Yeah, they need to bring in someone like Golden's done with Fnatic, right? Someone young, maybe even bring... At this point, who, if they want to keep it Polish, you know, you've got some options in there. But
the problem, the Polish scene is so not small. It's got talent in it, but VP's been that one Titan team for so long that all the other guys haven't really been pulled in there.
Yeah, and for me, probably Michu would be a good choice.
Yeah, he's like the only one with like top level-ish experience.
And he's merked in the past for them, or merked, whatever you call it these days. But
substitute, yeah.
But for me, yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting Renegades to blow them out of the water entirely. I can't really take much away from that. I don't think anyone predicted that. And then, obviously, we've had some shocks today as well.
Well, that's what we're going to do here today, guys. We're going to go and recap a few of the games that we saw already, the best of threes. Me and George have been watching as much Counter-Strike as possible over the last few days to give you the most informed decision when it comes to placing your bets. And then we will be doing our famous odds breaker, delivering the facts, figures, predictions, stats, everything behind the one game that's coming up before we announce something very special taking place tomorrow that I know you guys will love. So let's get straight into it. It's a massive event. It's 250k on the line. And let's just go over the teams first here, George, that literally drops the ball completely. Now, Boot, the team that me and you were like, this is their chance to shine, this is their chance to make it happen, lost both games 16-2. Now, you can forgive them to lose 16-2 against SK, best team in the world. But C9, you expect them to do better, and both maps were Mirage.
I just think they play a very execute-heavy style. Cloud9 obviously read that very well yesterday. They just started stacking forward towards A. Nothing was really working for them, and I think Boot, they've got the talent, and they actually have the coach as well. Yep. He's a very well-respected 1.6 legend. I just think they need to come to Europe and boot camp a bit more, and I'm not going to give up hope on them just yet because they did qualify by beating Tylo for this event. You know, we've seen them in the other events playing fantastic CS. So for me, keep going. I mean, you have to lose like this to get better, right? And for them, it's going to be more about outside of the game preparation, like getting to Europe to practice the best teams. Because let's face it, where they are, there's not really much caliber to practice us.
Well, I read an interview that DSN did, and he said, like, he thought it'd be easier than what it's been to change the mindset of some of these players. And I think that just shows how ingrained it is in this Asian Counter-Strike that you are so relying on your AIM and your just raw ability, less tactical, that actually some of their decision-making, he's finding it difficult to get them to change. He's like, no, don't do this. And it's almost like autopilot for him.
Well, yeah, and it's very hard to train something like that. It takes a lot of hours. I don't know the situation with DSN and Boot. I don't know whether he lives with them, whether it's a salary team. I mean, these are all factors that could change them. For example, if they moved into a team house and he was there consistently with them, then you can change those things, because things that are ingrained, you can't really do that when you're online coaching players. It's like, I've done it in the past. In MTW, we were all there online, and the focus we had was just awful because people would be playing with their phones in between practice. You can't see what's going on. Like half the time, I had my feet up eating food. Like it was that casual.
Back, chilling.
But when you're at boot camp, you know you can get smacked about a bit and actually just sort it out. So I think for them, skill-wise, not a problem. It's just tactical elements they need to brush up on.
Now, next team, and this was actually more of a surprise for me, is Envious going out 2-0. They didn't manage to get anything on the board there. Both their games, they went 16-13. Now, they played Fnatic and they played G2. First game versus G2, I kind of had them pegged to beat G2, considering how well Envious have been doing online recently. They seem to have, like, being able to build a bit more momentum. The team's coming together a bit more. But it comes to this, they drop off. But both games so close. So were they just unlucky, or does it come down to them still they're not on this level to really compete at the very top tier yet?
I think one of the things for them is obviously XMS is a bit of a question mark. Everyone, for me, probably one of the best things they could do. I don't know about internal difficulties, but bring Keo in for XMS.
Yep.
Then obviously that unleashes Scream, RPK. Get Keo that support kind of role he had with FaZe, and I think they will, at the moment, they basically dropped the ball in the fact that in the crucial rounds, they just struggled a little bit with the mentality. Happy even yesterday said about it, tweeted about it. For them, I mean, it needs a change. I think XMS out, Keo in, and just keep going from there, because they've got the potential to beat G2 and actually be up there. We've seen their performances when they qualify for these events. It's just they need that little bit of quality on the LAN.
And the great thing about that as well is the fact that, at least for Envious, they have a little bit less pressure on their lineup than what G2 did. G2 was seen as the superstar French team. Envious is like the tier just below them, the second team in contention for that region. And actually, at least that way, they don't have to be as fearing of, oh, well, we're making a change already. They can go ahead, make a change, like you said, possibly bring Keo in and see what that could bring the team in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, Keo's other option, I guess, could be G2. But I know he's had problems in the past. You know, the problem situation.
But where would he fit in that team? I can't see him as a player. Like, they've got all the pieces. It's just about G2 making it work.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, it was with Kenny S. He had the problem. So scrap that.
There you go, out the window.
G2, yeah, they need to stop Shox calling. They need to bring in a leader, I think. They're still not at the level I want to see them at. Shox isn't. He's very good at leading, but this is the problem. You've got such a world-class player, potentially was one of the best, or if not the best player in the world. When you've got someone like that who's so naturally gifted at the mechanics of CS, he can do any role. He can AWP, he can lead, he understands the game perfectly. But this is also the problem, is that when you're so good at something, you often might get filtered into something that you're not preferred in. So for me, Shox is that entry fragger, that force. Just he needs to focus on his aim, his crosshair, and the game, not like calling and everything involved in that.
Then the next team that went out as well, all these early exits, was Mouse Sports. Now, probably not much of a surprise. They challenged Gambit on Train. You don't challenge Gambit on Train ever. Gambit are going to wreck that. They're going to win it. They're going to make it happen. They lost 16-6 on Train. And then we went forward and saw them going against FaZe on Mirage. Now, the thing here for me was they probably would have never expected FaZe to be the team that drops down and they get rolled on. Like, it's not terrible. 16-9, really, you'd expect FaZe to bully them around a little bit more. But Mouse Sports, they came in, they came out pretty quickly. I don't like that lineup on paper. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think they've even, maybe if they get a little bit more time, they've got a chance to achieve something. But it'd be more sensible them trying to change up maybe Oscar or Chris J, mix them players up with someone else.
It's just not a very exciting lineup, is it? I mean,
you're not sat there going, yes, you've definitely got championship potential. It's more like, oh, you've got Sonny. Oh, you've got Rops, a young star. The rest of them, maybe you might do something eventually, but you haven't so far, and you've had a long enough time to practice.
No, and I think Chris J might be even leading now. Again, not really in my eyes, not really known for his leading, not good at leading.
I feel sorry for Chris J in a sense, though, because he's been like, builds up these rosters almost, yeah, and there's always a chance, and then something affects and it happens. But this is probably the least potential in a roster that Mouse Sports have formed.
Well, this is the thing. If you roll back the years when he was just focusing on AWPing, he was a force to be reckoned with. He is a good player, but again, why is he in that role if he's doing it? Oscar, another one. He was originally brought into that lineup, then quit because of personal stuff, and then he's come back. But you know,
I feel like you've got Stiko, Rops, and Sonny, who have all individual players who can reach that top tier potential, especially Rob's being so young. This is a massive learning curve for him. But I feel like you could leave Chris J in there if you really focus him on just leading. And that means that has to be his full role, and then you bring another star player into the mix. That's the best chance they've got. That would mean removing Oscar. That's the only way I could see it happen.
But Oscar's an awesome player in regards to actual ability. Again, I just don't think they're all good players. I just don't think as a 5 they're a good team. And for me, like Oscar might have been better off in Optic. Rops might have been better off. Anyone in that roster could have been better off in Optic. Optic's still a massive question mark. They haven't got an out-and-out leader. So
we've got to see how that comes down to. I think ultimately, when you look at that lineup, just to go on to Optic, obviously they're not at the Dreamhack Masters, but you're probably looking at Freiburg to really give it a shot at that maybe, and use. Come off his potential, all his knowledge. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that all unfolds. Now, the other team, VP, they went out with losses to Na'Vi and Renegades. Now, Na'Vi, you didn't expect them to lose it, but you expect them to give a better battle. Instead, they went out 16-4. They really just, you can only say they just flopped massively because, like, you expected them to come back, be able to fight back. VP, as they do, they go up and down. They're the most, like, inconsistent team in Counter-Strike history. But I never expected them to get owned 16-4. They didn't seem comfortable in Inferno. They made questionable decisions. And then we see them go up against Renegades. It's like, VP, you've got a chance now. This is your hope to come back into it. And you lose to not just an NA team, but an Australian NA team. And that's not having a go at Australia and NA, as I tend to rabbit on about. But it's more the fact that a team of VP's caliber should not be losing to teams like that. Never. It's not acceptable.
It's just internal conflicts. I mean, they're known for being a fiery team anyway in the past, but something isn't fixable right now for them. Who can you see leaving that team? Potentially maybe Pasha go into streaming. I mean, he's got 2 kids now. They're all getting older. Taz is married, got kids. The focus changes naturally. No matter if you're paid ridiculous money, when you've got kids, obviously, as you know, priorities, no matter how much you want to stream or play, you've got another priority in your life. But take all that aside, I just think, I still don't think it's a skill thing, because when they're on fire, when everything's good with them, we've seen them take titles. Yeah, but as a 5 right now, there's something internally difficult with them. And I actually wonder how much effect Kuban actually has on the team, because when you've got such big personalities, as a coach, what can you really change? I mean, he's probably having the least impact right now.
Well, this is what I said. So Dreamhack bring in the coach rule, and you would think this event would be perfect for them. Take the pressure off the players, let them play their game, and okay, let's have Kuban come in and actually give a bit more insight before every single round. Good luck, VP. This is your chance. And no, not again. Something happened. We don't know what's going to happen with the team. We're all going to wait and see if they do make a change, if they are going to stick to the 5, if they're going to come out of this slump. But they're just a massive question at this point.
I mean, you could potentially put Neo back AWPing like he did for a period of time, remove Pasha, bring in someone like Mitchell. I mean,
even Snacks can AWP better than that. Like Snacks,
Snacks
solid AWPer.
Again, this leader situation, maybe if that would allow Snacks to not lead again, Neo take it over, maybe Taz again. It's so many things with that team.
I like Neo's leading as well. That much experience. I'm not too bothered about him putting up mad frags, because I know in clutch situations or moments where it needs to make difference, he can step up. So you can rely on him to that. Let the other players do the rest of the work and let him in-game lead.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of their careers as such. No. I mean, they've
all got something to fall back on as well, right? They've done so well.
Exactly. They're legends of the game. And you've got to remember, at some point, everyone at the top has to come down, right? They've stayed up there for a phenomenal...
Longer than anyone. Yeah, phenomenal. That's the one.
Amount of years. And right now, if they do need to make a change, I mean, look, they're the longest lasting CSGO roster. They gave it a massive shot. I'd like to see them all keep playing, just in, potentially a different form.
Now we're going to get on to the best of 3s. And these are the games that have happened already today. So what we do here is recap what we saw, what we thought, how we didn't expect some things to go, and then we'll come into our famous odds breaker and give you guys the stats, facts, and figures before placing your bets on the games coming up later today. There'll be one at 7 o'clock, I believe, so we've got a little bit of time to come through that. But the first game, George, it was SK taking on Na'Vi. Now, sorry, North even, Na'Vi. I'm throwing out the Na'Vi one. Na'Vi's the next game. SK taking on North. And probably the reason I mixed it up is because no one would have predicted this. Like, yes, Valdez amazing. Yes, North have a chance of being better. But how do you go from being a team that, like, struggles to make top 8s, and then all of a sudden you've beaten the best team in the world 2-1, and not just convincingly, but actually on maps that we're used to seeing SK do well on? So, yeah, we've got the wrong stat up again. We've got Astralis versus Na'Vi, obviously because I said Na'Vi side of things, but our producer can't English very well. We've got, it is SK versus North. They'll bring that up for you guys. Don't worry. We get there in the end. But I'll take the blame for that, guys, because I did say Na'Vi first. But SK versus North is the one we're talking about here. Cobble, Train, and Inferno. Now, George, Cobble, SK, rolled face, and I looked at that and was like, okay, North are going to get 2-0'd, yeah?
We're going into the second map, which is
Train, and everyone knows that SK, up until we've seen them on this roster, yeah? So when FNX was in the lineup, they were beasts on Train. You wouldn't challenge them on Train. It's only recently, since FNX has left, that they have started to drop the ball on that map. How does one player make such a decision on a map that's AWP heavy when you've got Fallen and Cold Zero?
So, God only know. I mean, the thing is, SK, you have to look also at their veto. They actually chose as their last removal. They removed Overpass and left Inferno in there. Now, look at the major. They lose to Big on Inferno. Now, no disrespect to Big, but no one expected them to do that. But SK, what did we see in the major? We saw this whole thing going through the vetoes where it's almost like they're acting like too cocky. Like, okay, we're going to play them on our best map or the map we want to play because we're the better team. Not whereas my mindset is of vetoing back in the days is always let's try and get them on, their weaker maps.
I do think that SK are in that situation. You've seen it in a couple of their vetoes where they're like, we are the best team in the world, and they almost underestimate certain opponents, and they end up getting into a situation where they do lose maps like this, and that is never acceptable.
But did they ever expect it to go through maps? I don't think having Cobble and Train, I thought they would have rolled Train.
I think if you look at their recent performance on Train, then yeah, they might be a little bit worried. But because it's North, they probably didn't think anything like was crazy. And now yesterday, all we did about North was speak about Valde. This time it was Config.
Yeah, plus 20.
Plus 20 against SK, where no one else on either side of the team stepped up. He was sort of 65 across the best of threes. That's ridiculous.
And the thing I've got a question is, like, North, they're looking pretty impressive. Now that MSL can unlock, Config can unlock Valde, why did, it's bizarre to me, the whole heroic move now.
Yeah.
Was that was it an internal conflict with some of the players? I mean,
decisions being made before maybe them giving it a chance. This is the problem, for me, is that you look at it and you go, Magis Boy wasn't that much of a problem. They just needed to change things around in the team. But how long does this last for North? As in, that new team hype and ride, like, oh yeah, let's ride the wave because we're new. We've made a change. We're doing better. But how long does that really last for?
And the same thing could happen to Valde. Magix, when he first came in, had a couple of incredible performances. Got put up on this pedestal, which basically he could never reach. And that pressure on a player when you're young, it's going to break you. And actually, probably now we're going to see Magix and even Freiburg going back into Optic. They're going to play better because that pressure's off them now. They're no longer the problems or constant comments on HLTV and things like that.
That's the thing as well for Magis Boy is that he did come into North and basically was deemed by the desks, by the fans, by the community that you are the next best thing. And then when you start not living up to your potential, you kind of get smashed back down just a little bit.
It's the spiral, isn't it? You have a couple of amazing events, everyone builds you up, and you're like, okay, this is good. A couple of bad games come in, you're like, oh, question yourself. Then the comments coming in. No matter what people say, that it doesn't affect him. Eventually, when you're down on your performances, you're all going to get affected. And that was the end for him. But not the end of his career. No. Valde, North, like you said, honeymoon period. In actual fact, it's them beating SK has completely messed up the tournament again. We could see potentially Astralis SK again. Before a grand final, which would be depressing, I think.
We had this dream tournament coming together, and then all of a sudden, nope, could anything can happen. But we were talking about this earlier at lunch, is actually that Counter-Strike's in a situation that we've never seen here before. In 1.6, in Source, even in CZ, you always had teams that would maintain top 3, top 4 spot and be dominant for a significant period and up and down in positions. Here, every tournament you go into, you cannot predict it. Especially since February this year, you could go in and say SK, but in the last 3 months, no one can honestly say that, SK, we're going to take every tournament, because you can be a fan favorite. You can say, they're going to do well, but they haven't won over the last of the tournaments. PGL Major, look, now we're here at the Dreamhack Masters. It's not as consistent because the level of skill in Counter-Strike's just gone crazy through the roof. SK had their amazing run. They've done so well. Big hats off to them. But I almost feel that's an impossible feat to kind of continue on.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, if you go back to 1.3 and 1.4, 1.5, all those, so many versions of CS. But if you go back to, say, let's 1.6, there's many factors that come into it. A, time that pro players used to put into it. They all probably work in jobs. There wasn't a thing as a salary. And secondly, gear as well. We never had 144 hertz monitors. They were CRTs.
Yeah, things have got better.
Mice were worse. The very first Pro mouse was
the 3.0 is still a legendary mouse here, George.
The very first Pro mouse, the Razer Boom Slam was still a ball mouse. But I think going back to it,
we're showing our age again here.
I know.
You just keep doing this to us.
I keep doing it. But no, I think also CS:GO is quite random in the fact that Valve is still trying to balance it and make every gun viable, and that also, it makes it exciting, yes, but it also makes it inconsistent. But
yeah, that we're not in like where 1.6 was, no updates were happening. Same for Source at one point. You get there when actually things aren't being adjusted. The problem is, yes, Valve are adjusting things, but it does affect the competitive play if it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's ridiculous tactics coming out, as everyone saw on Reddit today. The whole, we'll talk about it in a second with Astralis, but it's quite funny.
So that brings us nicely on to Astralis taking on Na'Vi. Now, for me here, this game was, you expected it to be a 2-1. It realistically could have gone either way. But Na'Vi just didn't seem with it. What on earth? Like, I said to you yesterday, do you remember? Yeah, they beat VP. Yeah, they've done well to get this far. But do you know what? We've got to see them up against a real challenge if Zeus and Kane can really make such a big difference. Well, you hit the first big hurdle here against Astralis, number 2 team in the world, and you got sat the hell down.
Yeah, I don't know about the hype. It's hard for me. I would have liked to see Zeus stay in Gambit, and the reason for that is that we've already seen Zeus in Na'Vi, and I'm not sure if this is again going to be the super team everyone thinks it's going to be. I think the way Zeus calls, personally, his very slow, methodical style, it doesn't suit Simple. Simple is a very aggressive, does what he wants player. He's a loose cannon. Now, you can't control those. You can only guide them. Liquid was a perfect example of just guiding him in the right direction. He did exactly what he wanted and carried them pretty much to a major final. Now, I think Simple needs to go back to that kind of mechanic, maybe go back to America.
I'm so glad you said this, because for me, it was like I expected Overpass to go Astralis' way, and I expected Na'Vi to almost win the next map, because Mirage is a map where you can unleash Simple to just rain hail on everyone else, yeah? He can cause issues in every site you put him in. He can play mid openly. You can see him on the A-bomb site. He's a clutch master on it. And actually, I'm not putting all the blame on Simple, because it's unfair to do that on one player. But that was a map he needed to make things happen, because then if it went to Train, I could simply see that going Simple's way on Train.
Well, they just got shut out. C's finished the whole best of 3 with a -18. Now, this is a guy that's not calling.
I didn't actually catch that. So he was that low. Was he lower down than Zeus?
Yeah, he was bottom of the stats. And the
Rip seized, and you've just come back into this.
This is the thing. We're trying to see seized of the early 2015s.
Yeah.
We're trying to see him back on that performance level that he was at. Not calling. Dupree, he came in for Astralis as a secondary AWPer in this best of 3, did very well. Na'Vi won both Pistols and Mirage, still lose 16-10. And the other interesting thing was Overpass. Astralis brought in something a bit special. They used the spray logo to block out a fixed point of a smoke, which is quite a clever tactic. So, the benches on Overpass, they sprayed the toilet sign so you couldn't line up their smokes towards truck or CT spawn. And that caused the problem. And actually,
I'm surprised people even use sprays anymore in this. It's like a MM style play rather than pro play. But there you go, new metas coming in. We're involved in that as well.
I think that's the sign that CS needs some serious love.
Well,
Come on.
We laugh when people are like, GG on top of it after they've won a round, they spray something down. But yeah, that's a ingenious way of making it happen, right?
Yeah.
Now, the question here for me is, can Astralis keep this up? Because didn't do too well at the major. They skipped TSL 1. Now, where do they go from here? Because they're in the second spot position in the worldwide rankings, but they want to take that next step. There's so much hype surrounding this team. They're sticking it together as a 5 for longer than a lot of teams do when they start to not win titles. But Astralis, they need to find this again, victory mode. Can they get another one on the board? Can they take a first place here? I think they can, but my issue is, how much have they got more in them? Because yes, they managed to 2-0 Na'Vi, But what happens when they come up against another team that took a more educated look at how they play, or maybe done a bit more research? Can they handle it? Can they adapt on the fly? Can Glaive bring that kind of what we saw all the way back at E-League, where he was constantly adjusting to everything thrown at him?
Well, I mean, obviously, Dupree coming in secondary AWP on Mirage, that was quite pretty cool to see. Yeah, I think they can, to be honest. I think they'll keep going, but my concern now is, do Astralis, what happens if they meet SK in the quarterfinal? Because you can bet all your money that that result that happened in the major, it was a weird major anyway, that's not going to happen again. And I don't know if...
Both them teams are like this the whole time.
Exactly. I think SK will probably, after the break, they'll probably come out on top in a best of 3. That's my gut feeling, because you look
your
at...
Gut's generally right. People like your gut.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, SK, they're so impressive. They've got so much caliber throughout the whole team. Astralis do that. People taking pictures,
Yeah, no, just casually, just...
No, Astralis have got that caliber, but it's like you said, they're very much the team that to watch, and like, how can they adapt their game further? Whereas SK have got a few more tricks in their bag. They got Cold Zero, best player in the world right now. They've got a few more things that if they're behind, struggling a little bit, he can just come out the bag.
Yeah, SK aren't down and out of it yet, and so we're seeing in chat here, SK versus C9 0-2. Config fanboy thinks that would be a massive upset once again. We have to see that.
C9.
Yeah, if that's how it went down, I think like C9 might struggle in that sense. But you never know. The new C9 could make things work. But guys, we've given you a recap of what we've seen so far today. We've currently got the game in front of us of NiP versus Gambit, and it looks like NiP's up on one map on that. Obviously, it's a best of 3, so this should get pretty interesting, because actually NiP here is almost an underdog in a sense, not against Gambit, but just in the tournament. They won Malmö last time. Can they come back round on home soil, come out of this newer lineup, really been practicing, really been working, and push all the way through? I'm not saying it's impossible, but the way this tournament's looking, there is all the chance it could happen.
Well, NiP, they were up 13-2 in cash, and it went all the way back to overtime.
You were getting tilted watching that as well.
Well, yeah, because they were so competent. They got 13 T rounds. They swapped over their CT. And, maybe, I don't want to say cash is one of those maps, but...
That's another thing. Why did Gambit allow NiP to get cash?
Yeah, for
Any
sure.
Swedish team.
Coming all the way back from there and almost taking their map. I mean, I thought I had down Astralis to 2-0 Navi. That came through. If this one comes through, I'm up quite a nice fair amount on Unicorns.
This is Unicorn betting moments going through.
Because I think NiP have got enough in the tank to do it. I'm not convinced with Gambit now with the Dren leading. Again, another player who's so mechanically gifted, he's forced into another role because they had no other choice. My personal opinion, shouldn't have brought in Fitch. Nothing against Fitch, good player, but bring in Angel, let Dren do his thing.
Good point, good point. So now, guys, it's time for the odds breaker, where we give you the stats, facts, figures, break it all down for you guys. This is the bit we love. Welcome back, odds breaker time. It is only one game we've got to look at, and it is Immortals taking on G2. Immortals with a 2.45 odds, not in favour of him. G2 with 1.52. Now, I really feel like G2 will struggle here. Immortals have got so much in the bank. They just come back off that second place at the major. They're not a team you can take lightly, and they're also an explosive team at the best of times. And we know when it gets to land, they can be on another level. I don't think G2 are quite in a position yet.
So G2 are 7-4 up in overall maps throughout the history of time, but one of those results goes all the way back to when Dust 2 was still being played. That's the rest in peace.
Yes.
Hopefully you see it come back. But no, the only thing for me is Immortals, the whole rumours before this event, we spoke about it yesterday, the potential changes happening. Is that playing a factor? They didn't look very excited when they won yesterday. Cobble's been played 4 times between both teams. Inferno's been played twice. I think it's going to come down probably Cobble, Inferno, maybe Overpass in there. 2 of those maps, in my opinion, favour Immortals.
Yep.
So G2, ultimately, if they lose this best of 3, and, what happens then?
I think there's more riding on it for G2, and Mortals have got a more relaxed style coming into it. But if Mortals keep to have these deeper run tournaments, and yet there's all the speculation around if any changes are happening with the lineup, it's more reason for them to try and stick it out a little bit more together.
Well, exactly. I mean, if like you say, if Mortals come in to smash this event, then it's like, ooh, what's going to happen? I mean, I was very interested with the whole Elige coming in because he can obviously talk Portuguese. That would be a really good
He'd be the proper oddball in that lineup, wouldn't he? The 4 Brazilians, then Elige, Mr. Pale and Lovely.
I still think FNX is going to come back. I think the removal, when FMX originally left Immortals, I think it might, some of the players disagree with that. Similar to what we had with Guardian and Zeus originally leaving Na'Vi. So if they do well in this event, question marks to be had, will they stay together? But G2, for me, if they crash out of this event, that's where do they go with their team? Because for such an all-star lineup, something's not clicking 100%.
Now, do we think that Immortals can do this, or do you think G2 have got the power within them? This is a tough one.
I'm going to go actually with Immortals for this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Immortals. I think it'll probably be Cobble Inferno at Overpass. I think if it comes down to Overpass, Immortals will win. I think G2 will win Inferno if it comes down to that, and then obviously Immortals will probably pick up Cobble. Be close, but I just feel that Immortals right now, they look... KNG, he's having such an impressive run of form. We saw him in the very first game drop 30 frags.
Yeah.
So, and G2 just don't look that impressive.
Now this for me is the only game where I have not got a clear yes, it's going to happen, because for me it's going to be G2. If they really give it their all and they know, look, we have to make this work, this is kind of our last chance before things fall apart and this potential roster change is there. I'm not saying they need to make a roster change, but I feel like that's generally the mentality now, because G2 have been put on this level that, yeah, you're supposed to be the super French team again. And it's not quite worked out just yet. They start to see a little bit like, oh, we're getting better, and then they can't quite make it. Bombing out of ESL 1, not doing well. Did they go through for the major? No, they didn't even qualify for the major. So this is what I mean. I had to think about that for a second.
I'm just sat there, man.
No.
Shock. The thing for me is Shox needs to... ultimately, the team pivots on Shoxy's ability, and I think he needs to be not calling. I mean, I'm going to keep reiterating the point because it goes to show, even though existence style might be old-fashioned or not, the French players don't agree with it in particular, it's like, well, you're trying your way now, boys, and it's not really working. One of the best players of all time is suddenly down at the bottom of the scoreboard every single round and not really having the impact of an in-game leader should. So for me, G2 big question marks. I still think they're skilled enough, and this is why you see them win games, because anyone can go off. But Apex, again, another very, I was going to say dangerous figure. It's not like he's not like he's a loony bin, but he's very emotional. When things are great, he's top fragging, he's doing entry frags everywhere. When things are down, the chips are down, he's the first person smashing his desk, holding his head. Same with Kenny. 2 very emotional players, so they need a strong leader to check them in, basically. And I don't know if Smiths is necessarily that coach to do that. I think he's quite a passive coach. You need somebody who's going to be there, smack him at the back of the head and stop moaning, stop smashing stuff. Get on with it. Drag him outside for 5 seconds or 10-second freeze time.
I was just checking. So G2 did bomb out of ESL 1 and the major. Yeah. And I'm not saying anyone went and said they're going to 100% win it, but people are expecting more from this team, which is why I come back to thinking that if they're going to make it happen, this event is where they need to not go out early. They need to turn things around and show that, look, we do have the ability. But looking at them odds, 2.45 for Immortals, it's just too juicy to almost say no to. I'm kind of inclined to go with you, George, and see a 2-1 there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could potentially, because it's a best of 3, put on a bet for how many maps it's going to go to if we're unsure of the winner, because that's, I suppose, in this term, because it's so close in terms of how either teams are, it could be the safer option on a bet.
All right, let's go and place our bets and let's bring it into play. So, map 1 winner, George. We don't know the map yet, but what are we going to come out and say with? It's 2.25 for Immortals, 1.16 for G2.
Oh, it all depends what map.
It does all come down to the maps.
Is there...
we don't know the Vitas, we don't know nothing yet, we're not even close to it.
Oh, we could do total maps.
Okay, total maps. So...
Over, so 2-1. Potentially.
So yeah. So we believe it's going to be over 2, yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we'll go over that then. So we put 500 down on that?
Yep, definitely.
500 because my coins, not your
Yep,
coins.
not mine.
And then who do you want to say the overall winner is going to be?
I'm still going to go Immortals. I think it's going to be either way Immortals.
We'll put another 500.
It's going to be close, but I just have that. You know, yesterday. Bear in mind, I said yesterday there was no chance that VP would lose to Renegades, and then they lost 16-7 or something. Like that.
Anything crazy can happen, and they were some juicy odds as well that we could have gone for.
This is the whole thing with CS, right? Like, look at the major. I don't think anyone maybe received that gold coin and everything.
I got a bronze, and I was like super happy. Like, I didn't expect that worked. That was the way forward. So we're putting down in total 1,000 Unicoins. Remember, guys, you can sign up at unikrn.com and get your Unicoins. You've got to be over 18, obviously, to place your bets because we're a legal betting site. But our potential winnings is 2,225. Bets will be placed. Lives will be lost on the server. Counter-Strike action will happen and take place. And that brings us to the end of the odds breaker and the end to the show. Chat, let us know who you think is going to take that game. We've gone with Immortals, but it really could go either way. The odds are pretty good for Immortals, so that's what we like. And now, George, we've got a good announcement for everyone.
Yeah? I'm just
no excitement for George there, lads.
No, I'm excited for it. A bit more of a... Yeah, it's going to be interesting tomorrow, definitely.
So tomorrow, we listen to you guys as a community. We listen to the feedback that comes in, and people love the odds breaker. People are enjoying our commentary, which is great to hear. But the odds breaker is something different that no one else does. That's exclusive, only happens here on Unikrn TV. And it's something we love being a part of. So what we're going to be doing is delivering the odds breaker couch. And this is going to be something new we try to start tomorrow. We're going to be here from the studio live at 9:30 a.m. Central European summertime. We'll be watching the games. We'll be sat on the couch, relaxing, kicking back, feet up, all
coffee.
this. That's my sock, yeah, coffee, Red Bull for me, chilling out, like just having people join us on the couch and stuff. And we will basically be watching the games with you. So we can't show the games, but we're going to do our odds breaker before every game to give you our insight, info, facts, figures. We'll be chatting with all of you guys in chat, but you can watch Counter-Strike with us. So you can have the stream off of Dreamhack and then listen to us ramble on about how crap G2 are or crap like an Immortals players being. We're going to give like just our honest opinions like we're watching. It's basically just going to be Counter-Strike with the boys, Counter-Strike with the lads, grab a can and get involved. And see, look at that. Unikrn TV with a love heart that looks like a Pac-Man.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, to be honest, because it gives you guys, most importantly, the chance to interact with myself and James and ask us questions that we might not be able to answer during a live cast. So if we see an exciting round, you want me to break it down, or you just want James to scream about it, then we're here.
That's it, yeah. So when me and George, we're sat in the office, we're watching CS, we're seeing some like moves and stuff come off. And we sat there going, George, what the hell was that? Like, I'll start freaking out about like an ace or a crazy double kill or something happening. And that way, we're showing you guys how it is for us, not just when we're commentating, but how we are naturally. You guys can join us here. We hopefully provide some extra insight for you. And don't forget, me and George know loads of these players. Personally, I've interviewed hundreds of them. I've known GetRight. GetRight's first ever interview he's ever done was with me. This is going all the way back to early 2008 or 2009.
Showing your age.
Yeah, thanks, George. Constant showing my age again. But I've been there. I know these players. We've got bits of insight. So we just plan to chill out, share on the couch, kick back, and enjoy our time with you guys while watching it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it and tune in. It's the first one we'll do tomorrow. And if you guys enjoy it, it's something we're going to bring as a full feature going forward. But that brings us to the end of the show. I'm really looking forward to doing that tomorrow. It's something very different for both of us. It's a concept we've come up with that we think you guys will enjoy. Still involving the odds breaker. Obviously takes a lot of work from us and the guys here in the Unikrn TV studio. But we do it for the love. We do it for you guys, and we try to keep things a little bit more chilled out here. This is for you guys. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it all. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's going to be a long day, starting at 9:30 in the morning, going until whenever the Dreamhack games finish. We're covering as many of them as possible. So make sure you drop a follow, make sure you get involved, make sure you join us tomorrow. And guys, have a good evening, have a good day wherever you are, and we'll see you tomorrow bright and early.
Good evening all, and welcome to another episode of Unikrn TV as we go into the last game of today for WCA Chinese Counter-Strike action.
Gas was actually in drop zone here with a smoke.
He nearly gets the kill, and he's got to be careful, he loses his head.
Maybe a 3-point. Fix your T side, Get A, the ought more.
We'll be back tomorrow as we are every day, 5 days a week. Training to deal with. Who's going to see? Oh my God!
Try to forget that you were here. Some part of me wants to disappear with you. My soul and all that I could afford. So only gonna fall into what you explore. I knew